could tell this last idea amused her. It was another of my unladylike notions, but I didn't answer. Instead, I burrowed deeper into my feather bolster, pulling the ermine coverlet over my head entirely. I'd give my father's crown for a few more minutes of sleep. I'd been dreaming something wonderful, full of longing, and already I couldn't recall any of it. "Sophia," Jeanette said, her voice still gentle but firmer now. "It's time to dress. Your father is in the great hall and he expects you to join him. You know he does not like to be kept waiting." And so I emerged reluctantly from my bed and dug my bare toes into the sheepskin rug. It was a damp, chill October morning, and I shivered as a chambermaid poked the fire into roaring life. My attendants fluttered around the room, silent as moths. One brought fresh linens, and 2 others were dispatched to retrieve my gown and mantle. Jeanette herself would unlock the lacquer box to inspect the mound of glittering jewels, choosing which ones should encircle my neck or dangle from my ears. Today, as every day, I was to be scrubbed and dressed and pampered and styled. "You'd think I lacked the arms to do this myself," I muttered as Adelaide, the youngest attendant, moved to take off my nightdress. She suppressed a giggle. These indulgences were my royal right and my royal duty, and we both knew it. My father, the king, insisted on every possible luxury for me, except, of course, that of sleeping in. I made my way toward the great wooden tub of steaming water, scented with verbena, sweet woodruff, and rosemary. The last rose petals of the season dotted the water's surface, and sinking into the bath was like sliding back into summer's heat. I almost could have drifted back to sleep. As Jeanette suspected, I had stayed up half the night. But I had barely closed my eyes when the door to my chamber flung open, and a scullery maid stood gasping on the threshold, her face as white as milk. "What are you doing here, Marjorie?" Jeanette demanded. "This is not your place." "He's coming," the girl whispered. "What they said, it's true. His army." But Jeanette didn't let her finish. She unceremoniously shoved the girl back into the hall and quickly shut the door. Then she turned back to the room and stared at all of us, and finally me, her expression now dark with worry. My attendants stood frozen, some with their hands to their mouths, and all with terror in their eyes. My heart began to pound in my chest. Ares was advancing upon our realm. For weeks there had been rumours. From the bitter north would come an army of ruthless knights, laying waste to all that they saw. No village was safe, and no force could turn them back. Ares's men were giants, the people said, and Ares himself could not be slain. Though I did not believe the fevered whispers of frightened villagers, the threat of any attack unsettled me. "Back to work," Jeanette said sharply. "It's only kitchen gossip." Was it obvious to everyone that she was lying? It was to me. Still, they obeyed her. Adelaide, visibly trembling, began to pour a thin stream of sweet almond oil into the bath. When she splashed some onto the floor, I reached out and touched her rough hand. "You have nothing to fear from Ares's army," I said. All movement in the room stopped again. Adelaide's older sister, Elodie, stared at me with huge, anxious eyes. Faye, the chambermaid who'd been stoking the fire, began to wail. Her cry was as sharp as a wounded animal's. "Oh, Princess," she sobbed, "they say Ares's men are monsters. I don't want to die." Her panic was contagious. Elodie and Adelaide, too, began to weep, but ancient Anna, who had been making my bed, hauled the sobbing Faye upright, slapped a hand over her mouth, and hurried her out of the room. Then she poked her head back through the doorway and threatened everyone else with the switch if they didn't calm themselves immediately. I looked then at wise, sturdy Jeanette. I had known her my whole life, and she was the closest thing I had to a mother. I wanted desperately for her to reassure us, but that wasn't her task.